So I've heard there's some discourse online over global passive since Castorice's key information was spread out online. Many people see them negatively, but for me, I'm actually more excited than actually worried about this addition into the game. So in this short video, I'm going to quickly present my thoughts and analysis about why is it good, while also presenting the possibility when this can actually go bad for the game. This can be a complex situation depending on how it is handled by the developers. So let's put our heads together and discuss this particular topic together. What's up guys, KKaceh here. I make a video game content analyzing their game design while I mostly cover gacha game content, but I do occasionally cover other games that I enjoy when I have the chance. So if you like that kind of content, do subscribe so you know when the next discussion video is up. Anyway, enough yapping, let's get into the discussion. So, what do we know so far? At the moment, we know that Castorice will be the first character that have a global passive, meaning by just possessing her, she will do something in combat for your team. And what we know about her passive is that right now she is able to revive your character one time, but while making sure that they are healed within one turn, otherwise they will die again. So for those who are not aware about this particular information, as you guys have heard from the description, this effect is very good, and I personally welcome the addition of this kind of mechanics into the game because on the side of the more tools we have as a player, the better it is in a single player game. And from just this one example, people are worried that the future global passive that developers are going to give are going to break the game somehow. But I don't think global passive is not going to break the game if we are keeping the effects to be very specific and only provide a one-time effect during battle, much like the Castorice passive. But clearly, this kind of makes that some characters have more value compared to the others. But hey, every characters have been like that to a certain extent, right? When you're comparing new and old characters. But hey, I do have some ideas that might be worth considering when it comes to global passive, but that can be a topic for another video. So now that we have talked about what we know about the passive so far, let's dive in and analyze why I personally think that this is overall better for the game. First one is that it helps all players to deal with all combat challenges in the game, especially newer players who are still getting their bearing around the game, or those who are not that great at building their characters, or even min-maxing characters. For Castorice's case, it allows them to make a mistake once during a fight, and then recover from it and possibly snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. For example, they are doing floor 12 MOC, one of the characters is kinda low in HP, and the healer turn is after the enemy's turn. They would have been fine if they did manage to press the ultimate to break the enemy toughness bar and push the enemy action a bit further. But because of the animations, or maybe they have a terrible device, the input was a bit too slow and the enemy ended up killing that one character that is low in HP. So this is somewhat like a silly situation where it could have been avoided. But now with Castorice's passive, they don't have to restart all over again throughout the whole fight. So it is pretty useful for people that have limitations with how they play the game, be it from knowledge or even character pools. So that one example, for future global passive, as long as it provides only a one-time effect that doesn't alter the fight significantly, it should only give a tiny bit of edge for the players overall. And this will benefit not just new players, even veterans alike. The second reason why I think it's good for the game, it opens up more strategy. For example, let's take a look at the Castorice case again. If the player wants to go a bit bold and go for the no sustain team because they have the gaming philosophy, maybe offense is the best defense. So the game plan is that killing the enemies before they kill us. This passive will give you a bit more leeway to pull this kind of strategy off in case RNG just doesn't go in your favor. So not only that, those who doesn't have a 5-star sustained character, now instead of relying on the old 4-star characters that hasn't been buffed yet, or even Bailu, they can decide to go with full offense team instead. So based on this example, theoretically this passive really opens up a new playstyle for the players, for those who think they can achieve it. So in the future, if there's another global passive is being added, the one that allows this kind of new playstyle, I think is a welcome addition in my opinion. So basically these are all my 2 reasons why I think they are good for the game. It is just a good benefit from all players with no downside, except a certain case that we will talk about a bit later. However, one thing that I think the devs might want to consider so that this new mechanic can cater to both groups who likes and dislike this is by giving them an option to toggle it off or on for those who think they are unnecessary. With this, now they can just own Castorice without having to feel that Castorice global passive will ruin their gaming experience. Even though I think overall, once again, the global passive is just a good addition to the game. Now we have finished talking about the good thing that come with the global passive, there are still chances that the implementation could still lead to a bad end product. So what is that? Now, I have addressed why I think this overall will be good for the game. I don't see why you should refuse getting something that will help you getting victory in a turn-based game, a single player one at that. But I'm sure people think otherwise and will say that this is only going to ruin the game. Now we must pull for these characters or we are doomed. My answer to that would be it really depends on how often the devs are planning to release these kind of characters and also the effects of this global passive on the gameplay. But regardless, how broken they seem, you can see it like playing Elden Ring or Dark Souls, where you have options to obtain the most broken weapons or spells in the game, but it really depends whether you are planning to get them in the first place and use them to help you clear the game easier. If you think having this kind of passive will ruin your gaming experience because it makes things so much easier, then do not pull for these characters, I suppose. However, even after saying all of this, I have to acknowledge that there can be a scenario where this addition ends up making the game power creep feels worse. That is the case when the developers end up making future challenges revolving around these characters or these global passives. This should be avoided at all costs, and players should always voice their concern about this. Personally, this kind of approach is just a bad game design. Enemies and challenges should not revolve around characters, it should revolve around their own unique mechanics, and we as a player needs to strategize based on our resources on how we should tackle it. And we do have some good example of that already in the game. I mentioned this in my enemy 2.x tier list video. There are a couple of enemies that I put in S tier because they are so well designed. They're not exactly revolve around characters. For example, Sam. Sam is not being designed around a character if you pay attention to his combat. Rather, we are forced to bring teams that can handle him well, because he shuts down Abundance team because their healing is reduced, and also he is able to protect his toughness bar, so Super Break team might have end up having a slightly slower start. I'm not going to further detail, so check out my enemy tier list video if you're curious. I talk about Sam design in a length. So yeah, I encourage all players to voice their concern regarding designing a challenge around a character, and we can do that through the version survey. Alright, that's all I gotta say about this particular topic. I honestly think that if handled correctly, it will benefit all players. But if not, this will only cause power creep to be more apparent. Anyway, what are your thoughts or concerns regarding this information? Do let me know in the comment section and let's have a conversation about it. Perhaps we can learn something new about game design together. Anyway, thanks for watching. If the video end up being useful in any form, do leave a like. That will help the algorithm a lot. And if you like this kind of content, do subscribe to get more content like this. I'm currently working on a series on how can we fix a character, because on the last developer diary, they present their intention to buff older characters. So I'm planning to cover the one that I think urgently needs the fix, and eventually we even gonna cover the 4-star characters. So if you're interested, subscribe and stay tuned for the next upload. Until the next video, stay sharp gamers.